Hey guys, Richard here for Beyond College Success, and today I want to show you how to write a dissertation. The way I'm going to do it in this chapter here is by giving you an example, which is using my dissertation as the example. And earlier on, I also shot a video where I spoke about the psychology and how to really understand yourself in the process and really make the creation process a lot more enjoyable. Because again, as I said in that video, it's actually a painful process because honestly, there is not a lot of information out there. But let's just focus on what we can do here in this video, and I'm going to show you how I did write mine. Now, I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, or neither am I saying it's the worst way, but I think if I share this information, then you know how to improve it for yourself. So let's crack into this. First of all, I started this by obviously mentioning my college name, and I also should mention that this is a template that was given to me by my college, and I think that might be the case for you. Or if that's not the case, you can honestly find some other templates online as well as create your own. But I think what most colleges do, they make this very generic, so everybody stick to the same thing. So you will find that to be the case. Anyway, diving into this, what we have here is the title, which is acoustic liner design. Again, I also should mention that I won't be explaining what my project is about because that really doesn't matter. I just want to show you what it is all about. So I'm just going to skim through it, really give you what each chapter should contain and the basics that you need to have in place and really understand. Also, I also should mention that this is for mostly scientists and engineers because the format tends to be the same. No, I studied engineering, so this is an engineering project. All right, so what's the declaration? You're essentially declaring that this work is your original work and that you didn't get any support, that this project is also or hasn't been submitted or hasn't been researched before. And if it has been researched before, what are you doing differently? And declaring or essentially you also have to declare that you want this thesis to be available in certain places and what places you don't want it to be available at. So those are kind of the declaring all that. And then the abstract, I think this is the important stuff. The abstract is about is giving the reader the problem. What is it that you're trying to solve here? And some key findings to what you found throughout the process of throughout the research project. So you won't give the user that, but you don't want to make this too long. You won't really make it a little bit short. For me, I had it less than a page. You just want to make it that and make it very concise and have all the necessary information. But the bottom line here, you want to introduce the problem and you want to give a key findings such that when the person reads your thesis, they're able to say, oh, that's what he or she found out. And I don't really need to go through the entire thing. So that's what you need to really give an account of here. So the acknowledgement is really acknowledging all the people that were involved in the project. So for me, the technical guy helps me out a lot. My supervisor obviously helped me out a lot. So the table of contents, again, you could find a template online which really gives you, or you could create one for yourself in Microsoft Word, whereby your templates are really updating as you write your thesis. Again, that I will discuss about maybe in a separate video. So that's the template, and then in the nomenclature are all your symbols and essentially your symbols that you use throughout the research project. The list of figures are essentially all the images that you included and where to find them. Again, this is very easy to do in Microsoft Word. Essentially, you don't really need to type this manually. You just need to put the image and then you reference it in a very nice way. You can find videos online on how to do that. So that's how you list all the figures. Again, this is very handy because we don't have to go through the entire project to find out where certain images are. The introduction is basically you are introducing the problem, you are introducing some of the solutions that you're going to be using. You see how this is different from your abstract? In the abstract, we are introducing the problem and we're giving key findings. In the introduction, we are introducing the problem, we are giving our solution, we are also mentioning some backgrounds, why we're actually going ahead with this project, and what the heck are you actually doing, to be honest. you won't really include that in here. So for me here, just as an example, I explained my project, I explained the working principle that I'm going to use and why this is going to help resolve the current problem. So that is a key to your introduction. You want to make the reader excited about your project and why you've done it. The literature review are essentially, or the literature review is essentially all existing solution out there, the history of that, what it has accomplished, what improvements can be made, and why your designs are great, right? Sorry, I'm speaking in engineering terms here, so pardon me for that. Then, for example, I have this 2 degree of freedom acoustic liner. This is a particular liner that was used back in the 70s, and my project is a little bit different. This idea is a little bit different. The idea of this project is a little bit different, and I'm saying, okay, these specific things, they were great for that specific period, but right now we need more. Again, that's another example. So the theory section is pretty much all the theory. So if you're an engineer, you know how this goes. It's really the nuts and bolts, the maths behind it, the physics with images, the formula, all this stuff that you need. Say, for example, my project, one of the things that are very important is the pressure, the acoustic pressure inside an impedance tube. So for that, this formulation is very, very important when we are solving this problem. So in MATLAB code, we'll use that and everything. So all the key formulas, you want to include it. Again, some physics here that is being explained here. Again, we include all those in the theory section. I think the theory section is really easy to get. The experimental apparatus is essentially, so this is my experimental apparatus, the impedance tube. Everything I did pretty much could be summed up in this image here. But what I went about doing is I explained what the speaker is, what this guy is, the microphones here, the sample holders at the back, what all those mean, and what the heck are they doing in this research project, right? So that's how you explain that. Then we go into the methodology. The methodology is essentially how did you go about carrying out this process so that someone else can recreate the process. Again, for me, I have about 10 points or 10 steps that you could carry out and follow through to recreate the process exactly where I left off. Then the results, I think this is the big part that most people struggle with. With the results part, what I find, I'm not saying this is right and 100% correct. Now, it's going to depend on your supervisor and stuff like this. But for the way I did it and the way my supervisor encouraged me to do it is, the result to do it is that the results section is essentially you are presenting what you did for each test and the results you got. So for example, this parallel microphone arrangement, these are the figure of the arrangement, so that when someone else is creating it, they know exactly what they are shooting for, and then the results is presented for that, right? I think this makes sense really, because we know exactly what we want, and then we are showing the results of that specific test. So why is this useful? Because it's just damn useful. I mean, we know exactly what's happening. Now, note, this is not discussing. We are just presenting the results, and then we are letting the result speak for itself, right? So we know exactly what we're doing. Another example here I'm going to give you here is, see these guys here? These are, again, another test that I did, or a series of tests that I did. And I showed exactly what these guys, they need to be like, so that when somebody else is doing it, they know exactly what they are looking at. And it's also a nice idea to put a lot of images, because then people know what the heck you're talking about. And then you present the results. Now, I'm not discussing anything about the results. I'm just saying this is what I did for that test, and here's the results. Then for the discussion part, what we need to do here is kind of saying, explain why we got our results. We are not really saying, oh yeah, there's a peak at this point, there's a peak at that point. No. That's not what you do at the discussion or at the discussion section. What you need to do is kind of saying, okay, I got this result because of this, really explaining the physics behind it, and say, okay, I got that result because of this. This was aligned with this. This doesn't really match compared to what I thought it would be with certain other images or certain other figures. So that's what you're doing in the discussion. Note, I am not, although you could do a bit of that where you say, okay, it's one at off frequencies or it's one at certain points. That could be nice, but you don't want to make this the overrunning theme for your project, because I mean it's just going to look like you're just reading off the results section, and that doesn't look good. So that's how you write the results section, the discussion section. Then we need to go into the conclusion. So the conclusion is you pretty much give a brief of what you did and the problem, how you solved the problem, and what you found out, right? Also, people can honestly go back to your conclusion and they say, okay, this guy found this stuff, he found this stuff. That's really key here. But I think for the conclusion, you also need to conclude whether this thesis really satisfied the satisfy the problem. Is that the word? Yeah, satisfied the problem. And so, for example, mine is acoustic liners. My thesis didn't, honestly, the test I didn't satisfy my project, so I explained why it didn't. And if it did, at some case it did, I explained why it did that, and also what can be done in the future to improve some of the results I got in my results section. So that's how the conclusion should go. Then the referencing section is, I'm not the best at referencing, so I'm going to leave that for later on. I mean, you can find a lot more videos on how to do referencing. Then the appendix are essentially all documents that you used, document schematics and all that stuff. They have to be included. So for me here, we have this schematic and is part of the project, therefore has to be included. And that's also another schematic. Then the last point is the appendix C. Appendix C is usually your MATLAB code. Really, it depends on your project, but for me, my MATLAB code was quite long, so I had to reduce it. Otherwise, it's going to take tons and tons of pages. So I didn't include much of it, but I did include a bulk of it. So that's all I have to say. So really, I think the two main parts to the research project is the discussion and conclusion. So what do I have to say about this? I say the way you want to approach this, or the way I did it, is I always documented, and I think I said that in the other video that I shot. I always documented all the information as I went along, so I didn't leave this to the last minute. So this is what I wanted to do. Just document the information, whether they are wrong. In fact, if the information are wrong, the better, because they tell you what is going wrong with your project, right, and what you need to do differently. So have all the information down, both wrong and right. I think if you do that, over time, your project will start making sense to you. Be like, okay, I did this wrong, now I'm going to do it that way. That is a lot more better way of approaching this. Whereas if you are looking to just come up with magic quotes and magic numbers and magic wording, you're going to be there for a long time. So the best approach is to have everything down on page. Really believe me on this, it works. And then you can go back and then rephrase it and then retune it, take out a lot of garbage out. In fact, yeah, take out a lot of garbage, rephrase it in a way that is meaningful to you and meaningful to the reader, really. So that's all I have to say in this video. Shoot me your comment, let me know what you're thinking about this video, and I shall see you the next time. Check out all the videos I have going on. Okay, subscribe as well. Thank you. Bye.